Good morning and welcome to the Seneca County Board of Commissioners meeting. It is Thursday, March 30th, 2023, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, prayer. Anyone like to?
I'll do that.
Prayer?
How
No?
about before prayer, let's do a moment of silence. Mrs. Smith's husband passed away, Wayne did, so we have a moment of
Did
silence
not know that.
for Wayne, yeah, for,
Oh,
yeah, so.
okay, Shirley's husband?
For Shirley's husband, yeah. Dear Heavenly Father, please guide us as we make decisions in the best interests of our constituents of the county. Also, please pray for those who are serving our country to protect our freedoms. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Here.
Commissioner Schuff,
Here.
Commissioner Franker.
Here. So I will accept the motion to approve the digital audio recording of our previous board session, March 23rd, 2023.
So move.
Second.
Roll
Commissioner
call.
Franker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes. All right, so we have a few appointments today. It's 10:05 at 10:15. Then at 10:25, we will have a public hearing on the vacation of a couple alleys. We visited those this morning. Mark Zimmerman's here. I think we have to hold that time, right? We can't move it up. Yeah, we'll hold that time. And then at 10:35, we have housing study. So between now and then, we'll begin with commissioner reports. Go ahead.
Okay. So on last Friday, they started the tour your own town and stuff, so I popped over to Good Shepherd and Ohio Health and spent a little time over there with those guys
Nice.
on it. And then on Saturday, we had our Octagon, the historical Octagon House, had open house there. Had great attendance. We had over 100 people come
Come
to
on.
that thing. Nice. I was shocked, as bad as the day was, it was amazing that, people come out and went through the house and the barn and stuff. It was a great day. From all over. We had people from Wyandotte County, Sandusky County, all over. So what a great event. And sounded like that they had, Pointing Project had a great attendance there for that. So I think it was the first time ever. I think it was a great
Museum,
event.
so
They
it
had
was a
museums, it was good. So yeah.
Nice
So yep, that was a great weekend, that's for sure. Well, we had Land Bank on Tuesday, so we were here for that. And then Tuesday night, Salvation Army, they had their appreciation for those who help out and volunteer there. They actually, at the Red Kettle, around Christmas time, they collected $39,000 for that. So, great event for that. And then Wednesday, did the WTTF interview, had Kurt Lever from the USDA, the Farm Service Agency.
I
He
did
kind
join
of talked
that.
about, some of the programs and how many farms and farmers that they work with out to here in Seneca County with it. So, and then after that, went and spent time with the third grade kids and talking about agriculture and stuff with that. And then we had an investment meeting. I popped in for that yesterday in between doing the classes and stuff for that with Paula. And she had a great report for that. So, and we're here today. So did the viewing and there we go.
Awesome. Over you.
Yeah, had a busy week this week. So as Commissioner Frankert alluded, we had the land bank here this week, getting rolled off to a strong start here this year, trying to get rid of some of these blighted properties here. And kudos to Renee and the group just for doing such a good job. But just trying to get some of these lots back there on our rolls. We had our TSEP executive committee meeting this week as well. Got some updates from Aaron Mons and their group and what they're working on. So look for some housing study results here today. Looking forward to that report. Then yesterday, Commissioner Paradiso and I, we attended the Northwest Ohio County Commissioners Association meeting. We had Lieutenant Governor Husted there. We got some updates from him, things going on at the state, some really exciting developments as far as economic development goes, innovation, and just They're doing a good job down there with a lot of the things they're working on here, trying to bring jobs to the state, and just, he kind of told the group that there's going to be a big technology boom here in the next 10 years with some of the things that they see coming down the pipeline, and just pretty exciting stuff. So Ohio's really on the cutting edge here as far as the Midwest goes with some of our economic development efforts. So appreciate the job that they're doing. We also had our bicentennial committee meeting yesterday at the museum. So that's a new committee we just started here to celebrate Seneca County's 200th year birthday. But that'll be April 1st of 2024. But we have a committee together to try to have various events throughout the county, the different townships, the villages. At this point, we're doing a lot of brainstorming, trying to put together a budget. Just have some fun events here to celebrate our 200th year birthday. Also last night we had the Seneca County Vietnam Veterans Dinner. That was out at the Legion in Green Springs, very well attended. What would you say, there was over 120 some people. I mean, it was a full room. They had to turn people away, which you don't like to see happen, but they had limited seating.
Very nice.
Great turnout. It's nice to sit down and talk to some of our veterans. Tonight we have the celebrity basketball game at Heidelberg, and that's for the Opportunity Center, so look forward to that. Yeah, come on.
Jimmy and Tyler are
I'm
playing.
on a minutes restriction.
He's playing worse.
These two will coach while Jimmy and I have a heart attack. Then lastly, today here at 12:30, we're going to have just a very small, brief transportation committee. The commissioners had asked me to look into some of the ODOT projects and priorities. Like I said, this is just a small group we're getting together at this point, not to take any thunder from our other transportation group from regional planning, but just get a small group together, make a list of priorities. That way when we go to ODOT asking for projects, we have a prioritized list where they're not getting hit up by the different cities here in the county, the township trustees, the county commissioners. So trying to get some organization here to a transportation plan, update it. I think last time the transportation plan was done was 2017. Martin, does that sound right? Or 18? Yeah, just see if we need to freshen it up, just put some heads together. Like I said, this is very preliminary, and it's not to steal any thunder from any of the other transportation committees, but just get some dialogue started and some brainstorming, and try to have an organized list of projects that we can go to them with, and try to get some wins, some money back here to Seneca County. That's all I have.
When you go last, it's hard to,
Sorry.
but it's good report. Kurt said 1,400 farms in its talk, right? Did he say
4,300.
1,400 legal entities, 4,300 farms.
Right.
That's it. Does that sound right to you, Mark? And being the ag guy? Yeah. So 1,400 producers, is that how we would say that?
Probably, yeah.
And then, 250,000 acres. Yeah, it was good. I
Yeah.
liked him
Yeah,
on
he
there.
did a good job, yeah.
That was
Fantastic.
interesting. During the land bank, we did open, we accepted a bid to tear down the youth center, the old youth center, so we're pretty excited about that. For the public, that's been on our list for several years. Tom, you've heard us talk about this for 3-4 years. We always wanted to tear it down, but we needed an alternative to store our records. With the purchase of the Riyadh facility out by the School of Op, we've been moving everything in. Commissioners had set money aside to pay for that. We applied for a grant through this brownfield monies. We were successful, so 100% of that demo will be paid for out of this grant, and the land bank, administered everything. So we're pretty excited about that, to get that tore down, and that's driveway, everything's gonna be tore out, dirt, grass planted, and we're real happy about that. So we have a few minutes till 10:15. Jimmy, I think we'll wait on old business to bring you in. You and I want to talk, bring you in on old business. Would you like to say anything, County Minute?
I probably,
Administrator report?
I
you
have
think?
quite a few things. I could probably get through them in 2 minutes.
Or stop, and we'll
Just,
come back.
We can
Yeah.
break a pause.
We're
Break,
good.
yeah.
Not too much. I am working, the lease is up at the museum. They reached out, it's at the end of this year, but just to get ahead of things, so I'm reviewing that and working on that, so we'll see something in the
Okay.
future coming through.
That was a 3-year.
It is.
It's 3 years already.
Yeah.
It'll be 3 years.
Yep, so, you guys should have received an email from John yesterday. You might not have got to it yet, but there is a, invitation to the LEPC full-scale exercise on April 8th, 2023. That's at 8 a.m. at the Clinton Township Fire Department. So
I didn't
that
see
is,
that yet.
yep, it is on the calendar. Just put it on there if you guys are interested in going. Let me know. I can RSVP for you if you'd like. I'll wait to bring up. Mary from SCAT had reached out asking if you guys would sign a letter of support. She is applying for 10 electric buses and 5 charging stations. And so she had sent over this letter for her
You good?
support for that, so I can send that down as well if you guys are interested in.
Okay, give us the farmer version.
Get the farmer version? Well,
I'm
the
listening.
concern I have, I mean,
Yeah.
as you start talking to people that's own electric vehicles, that, you know, Seneca County is a huge county, and that's concerning that you end up out in Adams Township and all of a sudden
You're out of fuel.
You're out of fuel, you know,
You
you
need
got
recharge.
weather, you get, and pretty soon, it's not like you take a 5 gallon can out to, you know, get them moving and stuff with it. That, you know, some of the concerning, parts I have with these, you know, electric vehicles, I mean, maybe down the road, and stuff on that. I'm just, and the cost, I'd like, you know, we don't know, and I know she's applying for grants and stuff with that, but what is gonna be the, down the road for replacement of batteries, cause that's the other, you know, a lot of times they're saying, junk them when you're done, because of the cost of rehabilitating the batteries
I have a
or
lot of those
that. So there's
questions.
a lot of, you know, like I say, I'm not all warm and fuzzy about this, you know, at this point in time, so, again,
Now, SCAT has their own, they're gonna have their own board, and
Right.
this will be, you know, state money still.
Still.
I
Yeah.
don't disagree with you. I have some of those sentiments as well. But personally, I don't mind supporting her applying for the grant. Now, when it comes time for, the county to buy our vehicles directly, I think we're probably more on the same page,
Mhm.
especially in 2023, right now. So are you okay with, having said what you said, supporting, we're basically sending a letter of support to,
For her to apply
for
with
her
the
to send to the
grant.
state?
Mhm.
And all we're saying is
You just support her.
support the
yeah.
process.
Yeah. And she wrote the,
wanna add that
she sent the
paragraph in there?
template over, so
yeah, there you go.
But,
Yeah,
that you
that's just,
encourage,
you know, it's-
yeah.
are you okay with it?
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
good
that's-
with it.
yeah.
You, how about you?
If she wants to apply for it, I don't see anything wrong with it. She might get it, she might not, but I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so. I don't necessarily want a sheriff's vehicle if they're in a high-speed chase to be a battery-powered vehicle, but I don't see anything wrong with a school bus.
Were you here when Commissioner Kirschner, when we put the charging station in? He was way worse than you were.
Yeah.
Way more opinionated than you were.
Yeah, well, it's-
What sugar?
Some of the people
Tell us how you really
I
feel.
might, but, you know, it's, you're right. So let's jump into the public hearing, is that okay?
Absolutely.
Jamie? And so we will,
I'm gonna pass around the sign-in sheet for that.
we need a sign-in sheet, and we are going to begin with our first public hearing for the vacation of 2 alleys in Springville, which is located in Big Springs Township, over towards Cary. I'm going to call on our county engineer, Mark Zimmerman, to take us through this process. So we're passing a sign-in sheet around, so everyone in the room, please sign it. And if that's okay, Mark, we'll let you begin.
Yeah, so this morning, or several weeks ago, the notice was sent out for the viewing and the hearing for 2 Sessa Valley vacations, one in Springville, which we're talking about right now, another in Alveda. Generally, through the process of vacations, And I will take, if there is any to be had, maybe a little heat on this part of it. Generally, once somebody sends in a request for a vacation, the next step is to get a legal survey done so that people know where their property lines are going to be. We did get notification in January, I think the 23rd, and then again the 27th, from Matt with the township requesting these vacations. We never went to the next step, which usually these things don't happen this quickly, to get a legal survey done of where these alleys are and how this property is going to be divided. It's a little bit different in this situation because the township trustees themselves requested the vacation. We, over the course of the last 30 years, have had some little bit of variations on how we handle township requests as opposed to private requests. Private requests always require a survey, period. Over the course of the last several administrations of commissioners, we have also had surveys done for township requests. We went through this process. We do not have a legal survey or legal descriptions for these. Although it is kind of going to be up to maybe the board as to how they want to address these things, because you're a new board and there are ways of handling these things. So there have been no complaints, there are no issues with vacating these alleys. Everybody, including the township trustees, the property owners, are in favor of vacating these alleys. It is just simply a matter of the logistics of making sure that we are consistent with our approach and how we proceed with these.
Who pays for the survey?
So, because this is private land surveying, the land surveyor, the one that we just received 3 days ago, over in Caroline, off of County Road 35. We have been working with them for several years to get the survey done, and that survey, private survey, was just done dictating how that alley is going to get split up between the property owners. There are some times when a property owner owns both sides of it, of the alley, that there's no need to do a survey of the alley because they own the whole thing.
We're gonna make one
It's
piece.
gonna make one piece out of it anyhow, so it would be a waste of money and time for someone to do that.
Good.
But when we are splitting property, half goes here, half goes here. Historically, you will see legal descriptions that read, as an example, Lot 8 plus half the vacated alley. That's a good legal description. That's the way they were historically done. Today, I don't know if the taxing side with the auditor's office will allow that. That is not I'll take that. I guess I was not considering the fact that we didn't have a survey looking at these. Until I got out there and said, oh, survey, I don't see any pins in the ground. My recommendation would be to table this, just, or to continue the hearing, whichever would be more appropriate, until just next week. I can find out next week.
Yeah.
I would like to talk to Julie. If she is okay taxing-wise doing it this way, then it could be okay. The only issue is we would be setting a precedent that is uncharacteristic of the precedent we've had for the last 3 decades.
So let me,
Right,
so we had, when I was township trustee out of 190 there, I remember if you was in or if Jim was in on that. And that's what basically we requested because the road went nowhere. So the township paid for the survey.
Right.
to make sure that the property is up on that. And that's what, honestly, it's probably been a long time since any survey's been done there.
Yeah.
I concur that, you know, I don't think we wanna do I think a survey should be done, in my opinion, to make it
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and I think we should be real clear who's paying for the survey. So the way unless I'm missing something, the commissioners don't pay for the survey.
Oh, no.
No,
So either the Big Springs Township trustees will pay for it, so that'd be a call back to Matt and those people.
Right.
That's part of why we should delay. And then number two, if
We're gonna vacate the alley and half goes to this owner and half goes to this owner. If you want it, then you're gonna have to pay half the survey, maybe. I don't know who pays for it, but if the township trustees.
Whoever requests it pays for the survey.
yeah, so I mean, I don't want to overthink it, but obviously the survey needs to be done.
Right.
Yeah.
So the ball's back to Big Springs Court. They requested it.
Yeah.
Just send it
So,
back to them.
And I will do some checking on all this. I want to make sure historically where we have been and how we've been. I know my understanding of where we are, and where we have been when we've done these vacations in the past. And, step one, which the trustees did of submitting all of it. A lot of times landowners approach the township trustees to do this on their behalf. And they do that because the process, if a township requests the vacation, is exponentially easier and shorter than if
That's right, yeah.
private property owners do it. It's kind of like the accelerated process for annexation or the, whatever that other
This would
process.
apply to our second public hearing as well, so do we need to adjourn one and go into another one, or is that the proper?
I would think so. I mean, I'd
That's
process
fair.
wise. I would think.
So we will,
I move to table this for a week.
or until you get back to us.
Yeah, or
A
two.
week or two, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
whatever, so.
I think I can have the information you need in a week. And my recommendation, I guess, if I can do that, would be that next week, if a surveyor is required, is that you approve subject to
The survey.
the survey being completed.
Yep.
Showing that everybody is in favor of what's happening. It's just a matter of, does the survey get done?
Right, doing it right, yeah,
Yes.
just and stuff,
Yeah.
so, yeah, certainly.
Okay, so before we adjourn, any comments from you?
Made the motion, I was getting ready to second, but no comments on my end.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. Second.
Second Commissioner Franker's motion.
Okay, now any comment? First and second, we're good. Do we need a roll call to come out of the meeting? Or we just come out?
Do you have to open the floor to the public during the public hearing?
Great.
Yes, we do.
How would you do that?
So we have a first and a second to adjourn based on what the engineer's comments were. Any discussion from the public before we do
I
that?
think the motion was to table.
The motion is to table this till next week, so the county engineer can get more information. I respect that. We don't want another Fostoria situation, and I think that's messy. It all meant well and it all ended up well, but we don't want to go through all that. And this will be a good learning experience for all of us to reset going forward, to have a format on how we do this. We have one, we're just re-agreeing to it. So, good point, Jimmy. Anybody else want to make any comment?
Because they just
Go
came
ahead.
in, well, I was gonna say, they just came in late, I don't think they
Okay.
caught. There's
So
a,
that'd be the next
You're the
one.
next
Yep.
one, yeah, we saw you this morning.
Yep.
Okay, so we will adjourn. I don't think we need a roll call. We'll just adjourn. We have first and second. We'll adjourn the first public hearing for the vacation of the alley in Springville. It's now 10:28. We will open the hearing for the vacation of 2 alleys in Alveda, Big Springs Township. Back to County Engineer Mark Zimmerman.
Yeah, same. The township trustees requested the alley vacations. There have been no, on my side of it, there have been no complaints or negatives spoken to me regarding it. Once again, pending a legal survey of where the alleys are and how that property is going to be divided. I would once again recommend that this be tabled until we check on the status of surveying that property, so landowners know what they would actually be acquiring.
Okay, so welcome. We have any questions from your part on what we're trying to do here?
No.
We visited the properties, right? We're in the hearing. The engineer would like to, we would like a survey done on the property. And so he's gonna make a call and do a couple other things, and then we will have a hearing next week to take action. Anyone wanna comment up here? Commissioners?
So I do a motion to table until next week or until Mark gets further.
We have a question. Sure.
I make a comment on the alley, the two, between two lots on either side.
Yes.
The reason that was left open is because somebody else at one time owned the center lot on the back 3 lots, and they had to have access to it.
Mhm.
That person passed away years ago. Over the year, sometime after that, my mother, who owned the other 5 lots, acquired that
Do you live
property.
across the street?
I do now.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
But she grew up in the house that I now own.
I see. Okay.
But she acquired the property. She gave the back 3 lots to me. I in turn gave the back 3 lots to my son. So
Okay.
it's basically,
Right.
there's no reason for those to be open anymore.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the township trustees. We need to get a survey. This primarily has to do with the auditor and the tax, how this gets taxed, and we just want to make it clean.
Clean, yeah.
And then we'll bring this up next week. Are you, any other comments on your end? Appreciate you coming in. We all saw the property. And is that good? Any public comment? Everybody good? So we have a motion to table
Second.
and a second, so hearing no other comment, then we will adjourn our meeting for the vacation of Alveda, the 2 parcels in Alveda till next week. Okay, so that concludes both of our hearings. You're free to go, or you can hang out. This is your county government at work, but God bless you for coming in. You're free to leave, and we will meet next week. I'm assuming it'll be the same time. Is that okay? Have to ask the
That's a
administrator.
look at
So,
the schedule.
We'll have,
Thanks for coming out and talking to us this morning as well.
Yeah.
Mark, do you think, should we wait to get the survey before we officially do it? Or if that's what the will is?
So that is the option we have. If it would be cleaner
Yeah.
to wait fully. If there is some reason that transfer-wise, policy-wise, that it has to get done sooner. I mean, these alleys have been in their current state since since Alveda and Springville were conceived, which,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
waiting a
I mean,
couple
if
of
it
weeks.
takes-
we're not
or
trying to
months
slow
is not-
anything down, but that's probably would be
Yeah.
cleaner.
Right.
Yeah, then we know exactly where things are.
Right,
to-
and we're making sure that we're not landlocking parcels, that we, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Originally, we had a telephone company.
She's talking about the one behind my house.
Okay.
And they had a pole shed back there.
Oh.
They had to have access.
So we're
to
just
it.
discussing rescheduling the next meeting, that's all this is. And do we do it next week or a little longer?
Let's wait till we hear back from Mark.
Yeah, we'll just wait.
Let's wait till, yeah, I think.
Jimmy?
I don't know if Jamie or maybe Barb knows, but we probably have to go through the advertising process again for the public hearing too. So I don't know how long that takes, but
Yeah, I think we have to.
So can we agree that,
let's check ORC.
so Mark's gonna talk to the Big Springs Township trustees and the county auditor. He will communicate back to us. They will decide who's gonna do the survey, all of that. And then once we get a timeline, we will properly advertise and we won't hold you up. We will schedule this. We just want it to be clean and do it right. So, is that okay? Does that work for you guys? Okay. So Jamie, are we good then? We're not committing to a date right now, but
No.
more of a process.
Yep.
Thanks, Jimmy, for
Yep, yeah, for sure.
the reminder. Okay, so we're gonna move on with the meeting. We're back to the county administrator's report. We paused you, so.
I have, let's see, I do have a request from Andrew Newman from the airport asking for some weed spraying. That is, he's looking for a total of 2 applications for 2023. And that it does go outside of the 25,000 that is given, so that's an additional request for money for that spraying.
25,000 for 2 spraying. was
Well,
the
no,
total.
generally you guys give the $25,000 within to the airport, but this is outside additional money.
I would like to bring that up
requested.
next week. Can
Okay.
we do that?
You guys good with that? I had talked to Andrew, and Barb, you were on the phone. We're trying to close up a drainage issue
Okay.
there. And then this was brought up, but I have some questions for him.
Okay.
And then we can do that next week.
Perfect.
Good.
I think that's all I have.
You sure?
Not positive, but we'll see.
Okay. So now we're into we have old business, and I'd like to, Jimmy and I would like to kind of do this together, okay,
Sure.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
So, way back, we've been discussing at the state level, is Mike Ditto on the phone?
He said he had some calls today, might not
Okay,
be able to be
so I
on.
just would like to, you and I can handle it, but if
Yeah.
he's on, I'd like to know.
He is not on.
Okay.
Just do your thing, I'll fill in the place if
So,
you need to.
Way back, we visited Columbus with the Chiefs Association. Ken Majors was here, we all went down, and we had several meetings to make a movement in the legislature to consider third EMS, standalone EMS, which we basically have in Seneca County. We're not part of a fire department, we're just EMS. Where law enforcement and fire are essential services, EMS is not. So we began the process, we met with Representative Click, we met with Senator Reineke's office, and Jimmy, and I knew, Jimmy, you did a lot of work, but Jimmy did more work than I thought. He was working with the Chiefs Association, and he followed through and did a lot of behind-the-scene work. This is obviously a big undertaking to get legislation passed. So we're making tremendous progress, and I'm now going to turn it over to Jimmy, because we're at the point where we also are going to be asked to send support letters from the county commissioners, and there are people all over the state doing this.
Yes.
Thanks to Jimmy's efforts and our efforts by paying Mike Ditto to do his job, and by working with our local legislatures. This is a big deal. So Jimmy, take it from there
Sure.
if you would.
Yeah, thank you. So last May, as you alluded to, the commissioners, Ken Majors, our EMS director at the time, emergency service director, went down to the EMS on the Hill event. To prepare you guys, I sent you down with 3 bolded legislative priorities. One of those was, let's make third service EMS an essential service, which could open up funding, right? We kind of learned that maybe that didn't have enough meat on the bone. The third thing that was on there was actually a suggestion that's done in, I think, 12 other states, which is a Medicaid supplemental payment program. So over the years, the cost of doing an ambulance run has increased steadily, but the reimbursement from Medicaid has stayed the same. So that's a big challenge for organizations like Seneca County EMS, and really, any government-funded EMS agency. So we've been steadily working on that. Great job for Mike Ditto, but really kudos to Representative Gary Click and Ben Nettles from his office. I've been working really closely with him the last couple of weeks. We've reached out to folks with the Ohio EMS Chiefs Association, and they represent the majority of these third service EMS agencies across the county, or across the state, excuse me. And so Representative Click has a drafted, it would be an amendment to the state budget that's going to include the creation of this Medicaid supplemental payment program. So, we're not sure exactly what it looks like. I want to get with you guys about maybe scheduling a meeting with Highbridge, with the EMS Chiefs Association of Ohio, and with Representative Click maybe next week so we can put our heads together. But in your inbox this week, there's a support letter that I kind of drafted that you guys can work with that I'd like to get out to legislators today. And I've also written a support letter that the EMS Chiefs Association is going to distribute to their members so that they can reach out to their legislators. We've also contacted the CCAO as well to kind of hope that, I don't know if they'll support it, but maybe they'll say, hey, look, we've got a lot of members, a lot of counties that could benefit, and it could help their EMS agencies. So we're hoping that potentially they could at least help us communicate through that. So check that letter out. I'd love to get it sent out today. I think Mike Ditto told me this morning he wasn't going to be able to be on the call. He's got some other meetings, but not the end of this week, but the end of next week, these amendments are due for the state budget. So it's going to be fast moving. We're going to do more of a media push to let people know. I mean, hopefully, if you're hearing this and you're interested, maybe you should even, as a citizen, write a letter to your state legislators, because this is something that's huge and could really help us continue to improve our EMS service. So I think I covered it all. Sorry, I'm rambling, but let me know if you have questions.
What Representative Click's office and Ben asked you and us to do was he wants to get some co-sponsors. He wants other state reps to go in with him. So so you're helping the chiefs.
Yes.
The dons of other counties and the Chief Jacksons in Sandusky County.
Yep.
To approach their legislatures and so it's all kind of coming into Representative Click's office.
Yep. The letter that I kind of drafted for them, and I'm hoping that they make changes to it and make it, unique to their counties.
You've talked to quite a few.
But yeah, absolutely. Todd Schroyer, Coshocton County, Eric Burgess, Delaware County, they're kind of in the leadership of WAMSCA, so they're helping distribute that message. And really the idea is, dear legislator, this could bring funding to our agency. Co-sponsor or support this if you can. So obviously we never know what's going to happen with the state budget, but I think there's some cautious optimism. Ben Nettles from Representative Click's office has talked to the Ohio Department of Medicaid. They're cautious about it because, if you look at, I sent it to all of you, what the draft is now, it's pretty general. So there's going to be a lot of work to be done, and we don't know how much funding it could bring. But anything's better than nothing, and it's a good step towards really recognizing EMS as an essential function, right, as an essential service.
Okay, so each of us will get with you, but we, all three commissioners would sign the same letter.
Correct,
Yes,
correct,
so-
yep.
So does anybody object to that? I think we're all good.
Yeah.
But after the meeting, we'll get with you, and if
Yeah.
there's a.
Yeah, if you wanna change some verbiage
then
or
we'll all
whatever.
sign it and you can send it. Is that
Perfect.
good? Is that fair? Okay, any other old business?
I would like to
Yeah.
bring up the sewer
Thank
district
you, Jim.
policy and procedure manual. That resolution was tabled last week's meeting.
Yes.
I had a chance to reach out to Julie as well as Charlene on kind of the whole process to understand it a little bit more yesterday. So the policy that was given originally stated 2021-2022 Sewer District Policy and Procedure Manual. After speaking with Julie and Charlene, I requested that Charlene send that policy manual over to reflect 2022, because 2022 is when she updated this. She has been following this policy procedure manual, as we believe. I guess during the audit we'll find out more if that's been completely followed, but this are the policies. She just hadn't had the policy manual put together last year for 2022. So these do not include the new policies and procedures for the new software that is rolling out second quarter in April for the sewer billing. So these policies with this date, 2022, And the resolution that we have would be retroactive to January 1st, 2022. That, Julie and I both believe, along with Charlene, that accurately reflects this better. So.
Rather than going back to 21 or whatever.
Correct.
20
Yeah, and
January
then
23
the policy
even.
and procedure manual had 2021, 2022 policy and procedure manual. But those policies are still being followed this first quarter of 2023. So I asked her to remove that end date on the policy and procedure manual. Generally, you don't see an end date on a manual like that. So the corrections have been made on the 2022, so.
So we need to,
So I do believe, I would recommend that it would be okay to retroactive this policy and procedure manual back to 2022. 'Cause it
January
does
22.
make, yeah, January of 2022.
And I can just say, I just want to do a special shout out to Julie for, our county auditor, sorry, Julie, for, jumping on that. You had asked me to take a look at it, and Julie and I talked, and then Julie and Charlene talked with Jamie and got everything put together. Julie did spend a lot of time reviewing that to make sure policy, met all of our audit requirements and things that really weren't necessarily her thing to do, but she did them anyhow. So it's just a shout out to our auditor for that work that she
yeah,
did.
thank you, Julie. And I was in a room with you when we didn't have those, we weren't following, and then we agreed to do it. And so basically, there was a lot of work done, and we followed the policies, but we just didn't put it in a nice
In a manual.
manual.
Yeah.
Okay, so that said, I will entertain a motion, let's act on this, because we tabled it.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to make a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Okay, I'll make you want a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to approve, what's the official language?
This is accepting the sewer district policy and procedure manual retroactive to January 1st, 2022.
Okay, good, Barb?
Yep.
When you're ready, roll call.
Commissioner Franker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes. Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna pass this just down.
Any other old
Bring it on.
business? We have any old business? And then we're gonna jump back to housing study. Sorry for waiting.
Yeah.
We just wanted to, we bounced around. Okay, housing study is 10:46. Pete, we had you on at 10:35, my apologies. And Jimmy, if you could.
Yep, and so Aaron from TCEP and Pete are both on the call. I've made them a co-host, so I think you guys should be able to unmute and share your video.
Welcome, Pete and Aaron, and again, sorry for the 10-minute delay.
Are they doing a PowerPoint?
Yeah.
No worries.
Not a problem at all, Commissioner.
Thank you.
I'm going to begin things and then turn it over to Pete, who's going to put some slides up on the screen so that you all can see some of this information. But those of you who attended our annual meeting at the Tiffin-Seneca Economic Partnership got to hear just a little bit of a taste of what the housing study is going to share with you this morning. It's not a whole lot of what I would call good information. As I described things that evening, we're in a housing crisis here locally in Seneca County. Not a crisis like what you would expect back in 2008, 2009 during that housing crisis, but really an inverse housing crisis of lack of housing at really almost any price point and any kind of housing here in Seneca County. So we were tasked last year to complete this study. Thank you to the county commissioners for supporting the request to do this. We've got things done. Pete's going to share some very good but sobering information with you this morning that we're going to have some hard decisions to make. I think one of the takeaways that you will hear today indicate that if we want this done and we want to solve the housing problem that we have in Seneca County, we are going to have to work together locally to do this. There is not going to be a white knight developer riding in from another community or from the state to rescue us and build the hundreds of homes that we need in Seneca County. So I would urge you to pay close attention this morning to this. Even though I knew we had housing issues, In Seneca County, I did not even quite understand just how bad it was and how poorly we rank with available housing when compared to the rest of the state of Ohio, as well as the 16, 17 other counties within our region here in Seneca County, or in Northwest Ohio. As you recall, in 2019, the city of Tiffin did a similar study with similar results. The problem was the study was completed at the end of 2019, and we all know what happened in 2020. COVID hit. From that point, the data, while is not useless now, is outdated by the time things got out of the COVID period in this country. And then we were met with record inflation. So it has not been easy. The Tiffin Housing Study, while not entirely accurate any longer, being that it's a few years old and inflation has hit, this gives us an updated study that encompasses all of Seneca County so that you will have some very good information. But we have some tough decisions to make because, as you know, we are trying to continue to grow Seneca County. We've ranked in the last 12 years in the top 10% every single year for economic development projects. But if we want to continue to stay on top and continue to bring jobs here, good jobs and investment, we have to have additional housing. So I would encourage you to all put your thinking caps on. You're going to hear some good information from Pete. I may jump in a few times this morning, but I am going to turn things over to Pete DeSalvo from DeSalvo Development Advisors, who has completed the cooperation with TSEP. So Pete, the floor is yours, and you'll probably want to screen share.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. Can everyone see the full picture, or is it the one with the little?
We can see your notes.
Okay. All right. Let me do a different. Sorry, I have two monitors in it. Okay, is it just the one now without the notes?
Yes.
Great, great. Thank you, Eric, for the introduction, and good morning, County Commissioners. Again, my name is Pete DeSalvo. I'm president of DDA, and it's a pleasure to present our key findings. So our analysis, our focus is rural, but we certainly look countywide. We're going to present the core supply-demand factors that really help us understand what are the opportunities in the county, and then to that next step, what are the barriers to getting that, and what are some potential strategies that we can employ to get over those barriers. So again, we are focusing on rural, and as Aaron said, we did work in 2019 in Tiffin and the immediate Tiffin area. I will say, although COVID certainly changes a lot of things, Tiffin is also, they have in their possession a rental housing study we did in 2022, and the market is even stronger from that standpoint. So a lot of those things still apply, so we're not really missing a beat there, but on this particular project, we looked at all of the township areas. Our focus is really for sale housing because nearly 9 out of 10 households in the township areas are homeowners. When you get closer to the city and more of the shopping and other options, you'll get some more renters, but for the most part, it's mostly for sale housing, so we focused on that. And the opportunity for new construction. And as you're going to see in the next couple slides, given the state of the overall housing stock, it's important that we can add some, and the limited availability, that we can add some modern housing alternatives in the county. So from the 2020 census, we know we have less, they count actually less habitable units in the county since 2010. We've had a decline in the vacancy rate countywide, and only a little over a third of those vacant units are available for rent or sale. So there's a lot that are just sitting there not in use that aren't available. A bigger part of that too is in the region we have the highest share of pre-war housing, approximately 36%. You can see it in that chart on the right, the dark blue bar on the left side. And then going forward, we have the lowest share of housing built since 2000. So you can see after the 1970s, Seneca County had the slowest rate of housing development in the region. What's a problem with so much old housing, and certainly some character and some interesting homes come with that, but there's a high share of these 3-4 bedroom, 1-bath homes that people don't want anymore. A lot of compartmentalized floor plans, and less of those modern amenities folks are looking for. When we look at building permit activity, before the housing bubble burst, we had 82 single-family permits, but I will say back in 2000, 2003, we were at 138 to 187 single-family permits, even well before that. In 2021, that's the peak in the last decade of single-family permits at 41 homes. 2022, the preliminary numbers in the 30s, I think 33. And in 2021, Tiffin led the way with 11 permits and Hopewell Township at 9 single-family building permits. Last month, when we looked at Realtor.com, only 18 homes were listed, priced from the 175,000 point and higher. Why are we focusing on 175,000? That's kind of the minimum representative of what new construction group, at least at a minimum, that we would want to look at to say, okay, here's the sales occurring where we could see new construction homes. Of the 18 homes last month, half were in contract, and all of the homes were over 20 years old. So this morning, I looked at those again, very similar numbers. However, there are 2 homes that were 2 of 3 infill homes on the east side of Tiffin that were listed. One of those is in contract. They've only been listed for a dozen days. But one of them is sold at $189,999, and the other is available at the same rate. The township represents a third of all of the county sales, roughly 200 of 600. But nearly 2/3 of the county sales above $175,000. When we look at census numbers and the difference, we see that the county has had a 1.1% household growth over the past decade. Nearly all in the cities and villages of the county. Just for context, from the surrounding counties, the growth in the surrounding counties was 3.8%, and the state of Ohio is 4.5% among households. So we're getting a third to a fourth of what other communities are getting. Brett? I'm sorry, is there a question? No. Resident mobility is essential to a vibrant community. You're certainly getting that mobility in Seneca County. 1 of 8 persons moving each year. That's that 13.3% you see in that table. The problem is just fewer people are staying in the county than you'll see in the surrounding counties. So of the folks that are moving in the county each year, we are getting the least amount that are staying within the county. So they have to go outside the county to find something that fits their preference for a house. The employment base has increased over the past decade, nearly 5%. During that same period, the county resident employment has just increased less than 1%. So what we have happening is a stretched labor pool. We're requiring more and more employees to commute from outside Seneca County to help fill positions of businesses in the county. Seneca does remain a preferred place of residence for a lot of folks that commute. There's nearly 14,000 folks that are residents of the county that are working outside the county. So that is what's keeping your head above water as it relates to household growth. The median county income is estimated at $60,000 in 2022. That's comparable to 4 of the 6 surrounding counties, excluding Wood and Hancock County. And then when you look at the townships, the income goes up. Part of that, the homeowner rate is higher as well, but up to $70,000. In the county, we have about 9,500 households that have incomes of $75,000 and higher. These are households without even considering equity to afford the prices of new construction. The township has a little over 5,000, and the balance of the county in Tiffin and Fostoria and some other villages, about 4,500 folks that are households that have those types of incomes. So incomes are there to support the new housing construction. Based on all these factors that we had looked at and discussed, we believe Seneca County has an opportunity to really get their fair share of what's happening in housing development in the region. What does that mean? It means we should be getting twice the level of the peak permits we got in 2021. Countywide, we should be looking every year for 65 to 85 new homes. Those rental housing opportunities, while we didn't look at it for this one, still remain. The report that we did of 200 to 260 rental units certainly is valid. I know Dancher and Associates did one for Fostoria. I don't, if those are still correct, but there hasn't been any of those big market changes aside from COVID, but from an economic and household standpoint, that would suggest those numbers are off. However, all of this demand needs supply to realize those opportunities. So the next thing that we did was we wanted to understand what are those key barriers to housing development. We interviewed local realtors, and we spoke to builders and developers in the area, even some out-of-market builders, to understand why isn't housing keeping up with demand. And so the top 4 issues, both from realtors and builders, of one is the lack of conventional sewer system. You have these districts, sewer districts, and they're all on the west side of town, or the west side of the county. And you can see that in the image to the right. But what the issue is that most buyers can really prefer to the conventional sewage system. Don't want to have to get an acre plus lot to just to support that. And from a builder standpoint, developer standpoint, septic is costly. So this is something that's holding some of that housing development back. Land is difficult to find. Both groups indicated that, especially farmland, which is the majority of the land that can be developed. A lot of it, because we have a lot of family-owned farmland for generations. Another big part of that is builders have a difficult time buying a large farm tract and being able to slowly sell homes through it. The carrying costs are simply too high. The taxes and all the other things that come with holding onto the property are just too much. It was interesting to see, and this isn't unique to Seneca County, but we definitely have a generational change among the builders. some of the folks that were a little more active early 2000s aren't around anymore, or they passed it along to family members who are more risk averse, and they are doing more of the build to suit commercial industrial properties and have stepped out of the home building market. And taxes, the property taxes and entitlement process are creating an issue where builders just have to hold on too long to that, and they see a drain on what could be their profit on doing this. So their risk is higher than acceptable for many to be in this industry in Seneca County. So the question is, how do we incentivize existing builders to build more and attract new builders to Seneca County, especially production type builders? And it's likely a multi-pronged approach. There's not a silver bullet to this, but one of the things that we've seen done in another community, for example, the city of Moraine, Ohio, out near Dayton, they essentially were a development partner, and they created a authority that was able to fund infrastructure for a subdivision. They were able to hold on to the subdivision and essentially sell it out to Ryan Homes lots as the market was able to absorb them. So they lowered the level of risk for that developer and had an agreement. The reason that they got into this development partner holding company, if you will, situation is, in their case, they had too much post-war housing. You know, they're near right, Pat. And they had the same issue of not being able to get new housing in, so this is the step that they took, which is probably one of the most significant or on extreme level of how do you incentivize groups coming in. We're also aware that North Central Electric Cooperative had done something similar to this on an industrial park. So they were able to facilitate industrial development by being a partner and going in and essentially holding that and bringing in infrastructure. The other thought is, can we create more sewer districts in the county? Is there ability to expand on those sewer districts? That's something that we want to look at a little bit more, especially with the engineer. And then lastly, a way to take away some of those carrying costs and incentivize is the ability to have tax abatements for builders. So when they come in and they have a large farm land and they make it a subdivision, that we're not taxing it as single family before the single family actually gets there. So they're coming in at lower cost, and we could have a tax abatement for the homeowner to help as well. That's currently where we're at with the study. We're working with Aaron to continue to investigate next steps and really come up with, a strategy, a thoughtful strategy, but we need, this is a team approach, so we need to have some input certainly from the commissioners and other county and municipal folks to understand, what is reasonable, what's a reasonable approach. Aaron, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just kind of in closing, and then we can take any questions the commissioners may have. This is why we explained that, as you see from the data, that yes, it's really crisis mode for us, because we are losing folks with the amount of jobs that have been created over the last decade, and the fact that the last decade we've actually seen a reduction in available livable units in this community, whether they're single family homes, whether they're rentals, condominiums. You can see and you can envision in your head that chart, and eventually you reach a point where we're going to start losing employers and jobs in this area because they simply do not have the workforce to sustain that. When you look at counties that are half our size and they're building twice as many homes a year as Seneca County, we have a serious problem on our hands, and it's going to take all of us to solve this. And I'm hoping that you've drawn the same conclusion from the data that no one's going to ride in from another community. We're not going to see one of the big developers that you see build homes in Perrysburg or Dublin, Ohio, come into Seneca County and plant their flag and put up a couple hundred homes. It's just not going to happen. So if we're serious about tackling this problem, we're going to have to get very creative locally. And by very creative, what means bringing in government, working with the private sector, potentially some of our co-ops and others to solve this issue. One thing that's been exciting is Seneca County does not shy away from getting creative to solve problems. The rural broadband announcement that would happen late last summer is just one example of that. Some of the worst coverage of high-speed internet in the state in our rural areas, and two entities, North Central Electric and Bascom Communications came together to announce a nearly $30 million project to bring ubiquitous broadband coverage to our county. So we are not adverse to creative, out-of-the-box solutions. But we need to know that we have the support of local government to make this happen, because I'm a big believer there's only two ways that you can go. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And for Seneca County to try to say we're going to stay the same and not try to grow, we will fall behind all of these other counties, because you see even little Wyandotte County, which is barely more than half of our population, is seeing much more growth than we are. Eventually everybody else catches you, and when you look in the rearview mirror, there is no one else behind you. And that's the danger that we have in just saying we're going to stay Seneca County and we're happy with 55 to 60,000 people who live here. That is just not possible, because we have manufacturers right now in Seneca County who have put off expansions because they cannot find workforce in our local area. So that is kind of how I will close. It's a good problem to have, instead of having the opposite problem that we have way too many folks and not enough jobs out there. I'd rather be on this side of it, but we cannot just sit by idly and expect this problem to resolve itself, because it simply will not happen. So with that, Pete and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Once this study is entirely completed, we will have that on our website. And we'll get copies to the commissioners if you wish to do so. But this was kind of one of our final check-ins with all of you, so that we can begin formalizing the study to get it up for public viewing.
Okay, great report, thank you. We'll open it up for a little discussion. One of you want to start?
Go ahead, Tony.
Good.
We're kind of leading this.
Okay, Pete, I guess I don't know if I'm surprised, but the $175,000 number that you threw out there, explain that to me one more time, how you came up with that number and what does that reflect?
Sure. We were focusing on that number because new construction, the ability of somebody to come in with new construction and hit below that is very limited. It's possible with some manufactured housing, potentially, but the cost of the lot and the home is pushing us past the 175 number. Most developers, a lot of builders aren't even building in the 200,000. They're building even higher than that. So we kind of set that as the threshold to assess that new construction market.
Yeah. Actually, you answered my question. I was wondering if that included the lot. That just, even 175 seems low to me. Like, I don't know if you can buy a lot, deal with the sewer and the utilities and everything, and then build anything for that. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, there is the example that I was giving to you of the new infill on the east side of the, I think, Lewis Street, of the home is priced at 189.
Okay.
So that number may be that may be closer to the low end of 175, but we didn't want to cut it down that fine.
So I just have,
Yeah, there were several homes, Commissioner, that were constructed there, as he's saying, on Lewis Street, right on the outskirts of Tiffin. They were all about that 180 to 190 range. They were smaller builds, but they certainly were family homes. I'm trying to recall, Pete, I think 3-bed, 2-bath.
Yep, 1450 square feet, so not too small, modest homes, but 2 full baths, 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Ranch.
Yeah, so it is doable, Commissioner. Especially in a vacuum, I guess. But looking at some of these rural areas, it could potentially be higher than that, knowing that there could be sewage costs involved that were not necessarily involved with those Lewis Street homes.
I assume it's Lewis Street, they were probably tied into the city, is that correct?
Yes, I believe that area does have access to cities.
Cap B and you're in. You want to say anything? You good right now?
so Aaron, I was kind of like the broadband study where TCEP, and we have a little follow-up, you and I, to do with this, but I listened to Lieutenant Governor Husted yesterday, and I've talked to Greg Enninger a couple times at Sentinel Vanguard. I know all of us do. And they made a commitment 5-6 years ago that we were going to head into workforce development. And they put blinders on and they've put resources towards it. And we have the Learning Center and Vanguard, Sentinel, they're gonna go from 1,120 to 1,400 to 1,800 kids in 2 years, and there's a waiting list. Someone came to me and said, I have a little bit of land, I wanna build some houses, who do I call? So I don't know how we go about it, but if between the realtors, the cities, the different economic developments we have, I mean, I think it'd be nice if I know I talked to the Village of Attica. Pete, I didn't think you mentioned them today. They have a lot of sewer capacity. They're looking to talk to somebody to work with them to help them out. This is not easy. You're right, Aaron. There's a lot of things going on, but if there's a way, and I'm looking at Adam sitting here. I don't know what kind of bandwidth everybody has or how we go about it, but I'd like to. When you say hard work, it'd be nice if we could all come together and identify these little pockets. Some things are top secret, some things aren't. So that, I know North Central wants to do some things. When you talk of tax abatements, whatever this is, we might have to just do it, 5 houses here, 9 houses there, 2 houses here. But, I think we have to make it friendly for people and builders to come and build, right? And sometimes they just need a little assistance and pointed in the right direction. That's my thought. After I listened to Governor Husted, we've been hearing this for a long time, but the fruits of their efforts and their focus is now starting to happen. There was one school district, he said, 50% of the students, 50, are trying to go to a career center.
Mm-hmm. Oh, at least, yeah.
Half.
Yeah, we're seeing it.
So can you imagine half of Seneca School, half of the students going to Sentinel? But they're going there because they could be electricians and robotics and, there's all kinds of cool things now that people could do. So if we have to think, somehow we have to bring this housing thing together.
Get the players, get the key people in a room.
And I don't think it's just, hey, here's a builder, go build us 5 houses. They're gonna need,
Infrastructure.
we're gonna need some help. So I'll rest it with that at a high level, because I'm not sure at this part of the study, we're gonna really get into the weeds of it, but those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah. And just on a high level, as far as the abatements, can you give, some examples how they've been utilized in, different counties and stuff on that?
Well, they're oftentimes 10 or 15 year abatements. And where it's not only the developer, but where we can get a homeowner in, and it's an incentive for folks to come into an area to buy the home. I will say, relating to Attica and other opportunities in the county, we have found that releasing results, and we can fine tune this a little bit to target some areas, that it helps get the folks off the fence. A lot of times in the county, there'll be a group that says, hey, I've got a site, I want to do housing, but I'm not sure. And then we publish this, and that helps them get over the hump. We've seen that a number of times. So that will help that. It'll move the needle a little bit, but ideally, if we really want to move the needle, we need to attract some developers from out of the area. But again, if we do an all-in approach of, hey, let's get local and now let's get out of market builders, that's the best opportunity. So.
Yeah, there are different property abatements that could be granted at some of these properties, Commissioner, that would incentivize them further. We've discussed the possibility of whether a holding company is formed that could purchase the land and then reclaim their cost for the land purchase as lots and homes are sold. There are many different ways to look at it, but what I think the clear takeaway is no one's going to come in here and do this without a lot of incentive, because they can build the exact same home at the exact same cost in other counties and make significantly more money off of those exact same homes that cost the exact same amount to build. So we have to come up with ways to lower that bar of either the cost to the developer or incentivize them, or it's just simply not going to happen. And you talk about all of the students that are going to trade school, which is wonderful because that's what we need, and that's what makes up a lot of Seneca County labor force. The problem is we're growing them and training them here, and then they're going to move away because they cannot find a place to live. Yeah. They're going to go to the other areas where houses exist. So knowing that we have such huge classes coming up, you go to trade school for 2 to 3 years and you get, whether it's an electrician's license or HVAC or whatever it may be, about welding, and you say, okay, I want to work in Seneca County, I can find a job, but I really don't want to live in mom and dad's house much longer. I can't find a place to live, whether that be rent or buy, but I can find those places up by Bowling Green and Perrysburg, so it's not that far away, I'll just move up there, and then we lose them. And they're gone from the fabric of the community, and without solving this housing issue, we're going to lose a lot of our good young people in Seneca County.
Any other comment? I have some thoughts. Aaron, you and I, we need to get together to talk broadband and follow up on this discussion. And I'll reach out to you.
Happy to.
Thank you. Anyone, any other commissioners want to make any comments?
Looking forward to seeing the full report.
And Aaron, if it's okay, I'm going to open it up to the public for a comment or two if anybody wants to. Pete, while you're on there. We have Audrey here from North Central Electric. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you guys remember back when Aaron first came to you guys to introduce the idea of getting the study done and partnering with Pete, we had Ed Van Hoos here, our president and CEO of North Central Electric Co-op. He is a huge supporter of this. I mean, some people are kind of surprised when we talk about your electric co-op getting involved in housing development, right? But for one of our core cooperative principles is commitment to community. So just on the behalf of making everything as good in the community as it can be, we want to be a good partner just for altruistic reasons. But there is also benefit for us. North Central is actually the least densely packed cooperative of all of the 24 rural electric cooperatives in the state of Ohio. And the more densely packed you get members along the lines, the more you can bring the rates down, right? So the less dense we are, the higher that makes the cost for everybody living out there in the rural areas. So the more housing we can get in there, especially outside of the cities, like we've been focusing here on in the townships and villages, the better it is for all of our current members and the community. So there's definitely a reason that we want to do it as well, just for the good of the community, but also for our members' benefit too. Aaron kept talking about the needing to think out of the box and be kind of really creative. And Ed, our CEO, is very supportive of out-of-the-box type of approaches. In other communities, he has actually, if there's kind of appetite for housing development and there was a lack of water or sewer utilities in that area, he has worked together to actually develop a sewer district or a water district where needed so that development could happen. And that was kind of developed around the co-op model, and by the co-op it ended up being a separate entity, but that is something he has experience doing. So if we find an area that's the right fit and we need something like that to fill a gap, we have experience helping to put that type of solution together. Like somebody mentioned, we are the actual developer at an industrial park in our other cooperative territory, and are definitely exploring different ideas of how we could potentially be that development partner here locally. So we'll continue to explore kind of that path. Obviously, we have a very strong partnership with Bascom Communications for serving anybody that's out in the rural areas and our members, and they're willing to kind of partner on this with us as well. And we've been, partnering with them as far as getting them, where's the capacity, where's the infrastructure as far as electric utility, obviously for this development as well. So, we're really glad that this study is done. We're glad the commissioners are on board with, hoping to make something happen. And we're going to continue to explore very seriously some options where North Central can be a very active partner in whatever happens next in whatever way that might look like. But we are very interested in being a partner on this. Like Aaron said, obviously whatever we do, we are a not-for-profit electric cooperative, so we don't have tons of extra funding either, but we're just trying to make it happen at the best cost possible for everybody. So again, with the incentives and having the county as a partner, that might be the piece that's needed in order to make something move forward. And like he said, it's not going to be just one approach. We hope to be part of the solution, but it's going to take many different things. So
What are the cities bringing to the table? As far, are the cities willing to extend sewer and that sort of thing? As far as like Foster and Tiffin go, what are they willing to do?
Not sure we got that far yet, but Aaron?
Yeah, you kind of got the cart a little ahead of the horse there, Commissioner. Those conversations that can happen. You have to have those conversations at another time with those entities once land's been identified. I think hypothetically go to them and say, are you willing to extend sewer and water? You're probably going to get a yes, but kind of answer, and it just depends on where. Are they going to extend it 10 miles out? Probably not. Are they willing to extend it a couple football lengths? Probably so. We're going to identify land before I think we just start asking carte blanche if they're willing to extend sewer, because they're going to want better answers, I think.
Yeah, hopefully we can form a sort of partnership. I just don't want the county footing the whole bill. I mean, it's going to take the different governmental entities to work together, I think.
Pete, before we hang up, nice job when you're on. Does this conclude the scope of work, other than a few conversations? I'll get back to you, Bill.
We're going to be with you to the process where you actually have that strategy a little more solidified.
Okay.
We don't want to leave you with data.
Good.
So that's part of what our company differentiates us, is we'll take it as far as we can with you to get you started. And if you don't want it, you just tell us, okay, we're done with you, but we're going to be around to help you go through the process.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, but we have a realtor in the audience that would like to speak. Bill Jones.
I don't know if I'd like to speak, but I will. I didn't come prepared with any stats or numbers, but Pete, I love what you put together here. I guess first question, the 2019 versus today, as far as the demand or the need then, are those numbers pretty similar? I didn't see, like for the overall housing demand, lack of housing?
Yeah, the 2019 numbers, we would have to go back. We'd have to go back in and show some of the difference in the economic and the demographics, but we know that it's from our latest survey that the housing market's still very strong, rental housing especially.
Yeah, we don't have any stats, but we're just boots on the ground, and yeah, we're completely upside down in almost every category. And having talked for years now to a lot of the builders and a lot of the players that would be key to do that, is usually the biggest problem is infrastructure. I mean, it's a big discussion. There's a lot that gets covered with this, but infrastructure and then tax abatement of some kind. And that would be the other thing. Commissioner Franco, you already brought that up as far as like what could we look at as other examples, and conversations we've had is I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of other communities that have done similar projects, and it's gonna take a lot of, you know, city, county, everybody, you know, private partners to step up in
Home
there.
builders.
Yeah, and I don't know that we,
schools,
I'm pretty sure there is an appetite for local builders. They just, nobody's gonna take on the $1 million holding cost and build the infrastructure on their own. So if the groundwork is laid for that, I think there is gonna be an appetite for somebody to, whether it be a large organization.
Well, if there was a lot ready to go, yeah. Sure, with, you just pay X amount for the lot, that you've got the road, the water, the sewer there, they would build.
Oh, yeah, they built for sure.
Yeah.
And I do touch on this, Commissioner Paradiso, about the cost then too. Like those Lewis Street homes we've been in a number of times. They are technically a new build, but they are not to cut on them, but they're just built on a slab. There's not a high demand for that type of housing. Most, you know, having previously built, and a lot of people I know that have built, I mean, you're talking $300,000 plus generally to get to a house where.
If you had 10
most,
$300,000 houses right now, could you sell them?
yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
He's
that's
probably
what
got 5 or 6
we were
of them
actually
right now.
talking about that. Yeah, I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
Aaron, anything else from you?
No, Commissioner, I have nothing additional to release at this time.
Will you send a copy of the slides over to us?
I certainly will do so.
And then maybe send them to Jimmy, and Jimmy can circulate them out. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
If you're ready for that, I didn't know if he's quite ready to send them
Yeah,
out
and if you
yet.
don't want to send them, don't send them, but I'd like to, I'm just asking. Is that okay?
Oh, I think there's no harm in you having these slides. I don't see what it would be. We had them on the screen, and anyone could go through this and pause them at any time and read them. So I see no harm in
And there's a
providing
date on
slides
it.
to you.
Good.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Sorry we held you up, but nice job. Thank
No
you.
worries.
We okay? We hit the lights then and back in the meeting? I guess why, anybody else want to say anything on this before we go into our back in our meeting? Mark, you're nodding a little bit and, yeah, wow, it's just awesome. How about 80 permits a year instead of 40? And we only had 40 once. They were in the 20s before that. So 80 a year would be 3.5 times more than it would just make a huge difference.
And I think they'll probably look into
Huge difference.
our current sewer districts to kind of start building from that point, because like he alluded to, I know from personal experience, it's $25,000 to put in a new septic system and stuff.
Well, there's some low
That's-
fruit
there's
if
some-
we work hard at it. I think we could find some pockets and
Yeah,
some,
kind of tie things in, because.
and it actually would help the sewer districts to have more customers and run more, you know, what's it called, waste through it all helps. Yeah, these things need to be,
You know, the more we can consolidate our home building, the better too. You know,
yeah.
the typical lots we're getting a lot of now are the curb cuts on the side of a county or township road. Here, one there, and while it all looks good, there are inevitable drainage problems and conflicts with people moving out into rural areas that did not expect the smell, the noise.
You want to get some calls on all these.
Yeah, you know, and it's just real, but that's what's available. And so someone finds an acre, they grab it. And
And I think, I talked to some builders that were building back in the day, and that's what their issues, you know, working locally, and they kind of address that a little bit, is that they're borrowing the money, they're doing good, but then all of a sudden the banks get skittish, and all of a sudden they start shutting down
Like now.
operating and all that. I mean, it'd be no different than a farmer coming in August, say, hey, you need to repay back all your operating loans when you haven't even harvested yet. So that's kind of some of the stuff that they ran into, that sometimes out of their control is, you know, banks will be slowing them down or, you know, cutting back on that because the banks think things are gonna happen. It might not be the case, you know, and some of the stuff. So just a lot of factors in there.
yeah, I mean, what you were speaking of, I mean, as far as the barrier to entry, it's infrastructure.
Yep.
I mean, to build the road, to put the sewer in, to put the storm in, to put the detention basin in, to get the gas, water, communications there. You know, it's $1 million a mile just to build the road. Not that I was gonna build a mile, but you're gonna have $1.5 million to $2 million invested in infrastructure before you get your first dollar back.
Correct.
And there is nobody that's willing to take that risk. I mean, it's just too big a risk.
They say the third owner is the one that makes money on a
Yeah.
subdivision.
Right.
First one, first couple will go out. and
Yeah,
chance
I
to
mean, we
go
have
to
subdivisions now that, we have expansions, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, that we have plans for, we have the development for, they just don't have the money to build a road and to put sewer in. All kinds of potential, but there's no money. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, Audrey, I'd like to come back to you. You have a guest and before we get into new business, and I understand we have, you have a little relief now.
Yes.
Okay, welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. As many of you know, my department at North Central Electric, our key accounts and economic development, government affairs department. Many of you know Kathy Gross. She is the director of our department. She's had a health emergency and has been out for a while, so I've been kind of trying to manage everything, and it's been quite a bit. But we also were planning on bringing a third person into the department at some point, so we have finally done that. So I have a little bit of relief now of offloading some workload. So thank you for everyone's patience during this time, and I'm so excited to be bringing Reese on. So if you want to introduce yourself, go ahead.
Well, thank you, commissioners. Definitely exciting to hear a lot that's going on in the county. My background is in community development and more recently with Lorain County. So obviously for us it's a little bit different, where there is a lot of new housing that's being started and a lot of growth that we're seeing from Cuyahoga County coming westward. So I think there might be obviously some opportunity here with North Central to collaborate, but I just look forward to, again, looking forward to being a partner on some potential projects in the future, and really just kind of bringing my, again, being a seat at the table and seeing what comes of it.
You picked a good meeting to come to. Our housing study, and,
As many of you know, North Central Electric has a there's a joint management structure that we have set up where we actually manage another cooperative up in the Lorain and Medina territories as well. Some people don't know that. So our department works with both, and we've been just kind of equally covering both. And so he's going to be, he's from that area, he's got the connections and the experience in that area. He'll be a little bit more focused on covering up there, and I'll be a little bit more down here so we can delineate a little bit, but you'll definitely still see him around supporting things back and forth as well.
I'm gonna pick your brain on some ideas, yeah.
Definitely. Got my card, I'll share it with everyone after.
Anybody?
Glad to have you.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome again. So, before we jump into new business, I have one more item of business, and that's the calendar I'd like to bring up. Were you gonna bring that up? Or-
I was
'cause
going to make
talked
sure
you?
that it was brought up,
'Cause
because I know
I spoke to Jamie about this, so everybody knows.
Right.
the week of the 10th, we have quite a few conflicts, so.
We have all kinds of conflicts. So is it just safe to jump right to it and have a discussion about not having our meeting on the 13th? And then we now won't have the hearing on the 6th. We won't be coming back next week, right? Or we could.
No, we got
No.
advertising all that.
We have to
gotta
advertise
advertise
all that,
everything,
yeah.
so
So
yeah.
now,
So,
yeah, so we're good.
Yeah.
So we can push everything we can into the 6th. Does that work for you? And if it works for you, then I'm gonna open it up to these guys.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So we're looking at no meeting the week of the 10th.
So it'd be no meeting on the 10th, and then do we need to meet on the 18th, or can we just come back and meet on the 20th?
Good either way, I mean, it's up to,
Right now, we really don't have anything that has come in for the 13th meeting yet. It's a little bit early, obviously, for that, but this also gives us enough notice to get that out to departments. So yeah, if that, we'd be looking at the 6th and then the 20th for a meeting.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Barb, you good? Okay, so do we just make it official right now? Did the
If you'd
county
like.
administrator agree on it?
I'm okay with it, yeah.
Can we do this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know that you guys can make the week of the 10th work, so.
Good. Okay, so just for the record, we will meet next Thursday on the 6th of April, right? And then we will be back on track the 20th, no meeting the 13th. Okay, now I guess we'll jump into anything else? Any other old business? Yeah, it's business. We're gonna go into Barb with new business.
I just have one supplemental appropriation for this time. It's for unclaimed funds. They are requesting $4,889.11. This is, they received proper documentation. They had moved money over into unclaimed because the check hadn't been cashed. They have received that documentation to reissue that check, so we're just kind of balancing out the fund is all. And that's all I have for supplemental appropriations.
Motion to approve the supplemental appropriations?
I'll second the motion.
Hearing no discussion, as Commissioner Kirschner would say. Roll call.
Commissioner Frankert,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso.
Yes. Okay, thanks, Barb.
Okay, I have a resolution setting the time, date, and place to receive sealed bids for the County Road 62 pavement repair project. We will receive bids on April 20th until 10:30 a.m.
April 20th.
April 20th, yep, 10:30 a.m.
Is that for, what's the span on that?
So we, from County Road 29 to basically 269, or that section that we own in there, Taichi Stone Quarry in just north of Flat Rock has expanded their operation quite significantly. And now they're not only hauling stone in, but they're also hauling stone out, or of course they're hauling it out, but hauling it in as well. And so that section is a highly used section for the quarry, and we lost stability of the outer 4 feet of each section of road, or each lane of the road. So this contractor has come in and replaced that old berm and asphalt with full depth structural asphalt. So we can make it more like what we're doing on all of our expansion roads, all of our truck routes. And then later, a couple of years, we'll pave the entire thing once we get that.
Is there a
settled.
Ruma over there?
No, we generally don't do Rumas with just our
Just
own.
for normal business,
Yeah, now,
Because we do have one over in Betsville, right? A little bit of a.
we have an agreement, I mean, they don't
It's
do
not a
any
formal
payments,
agreement, it's just
nothing. You know, we do with our developers that come in, gas companies, electric companies that are doing major expansions,
It's gonna be a
transmission work.
permanent thing that you're.
Yeah, and you know, if it gets to a point, we may ask for some type of agreement with them to help, but they're in Seneca County, it is a Seneca County business, they are
fuel,
employing
they
people in
pay
Seneca
tax.
County, they are licensing their trucks in Seneca County, and so, you know, I support small businesses, and I think that we can,
That's absolutely right.
you know, if this were a Sandusky County facility that was just using our roads, we'd be having a different conversation.
That's a good way to describe
So,
it, yeah, yeah.
Because never anything with Flat Rock, or not, the other quarry and stuff, we never had any.
Yeah.
Do that, because
Yeah.
again, it is in Seneca County.
Well, I
Right.
bet, I went to an Anna Township meeting way back when all the trucks were being rerouted, the Whirlpool trucks.
Oh, that's on, yeah, well. they-
What was that? There was a bunch of truck traffic, and I went to both of you, and you basically said, look, they pay fuel tax, these are county roads, they have plates on their trucks, they've got CDL drivers, they're allowed to drive on our roads, even though they,
Yeah.
at times,
I mean, when you live next to
cause
a.
issues.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
Whirlpool,
That would fix it.
warehouse,
Right.
you can't expect anything other
Yeah,
than truck traffic.
so,
I mean,
so
honestly.
use the engineer, see that road, you deal with it, and take care of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's a little winded explanation, but since you're here, that's
Sure.
helpful, I think. Yeah, so we have a motion. I'll second it. And roll call.
Commissioner Frankert,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso.
Yes. Thank you. Next.
Okay, I have a resolution authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to sign a satisfaction of mortgage for Mary Rice for the satisfaction of her loan with the Seneca County Commissioners for work done through the CHIP program, fiscal year 2009.
Okay, it's all.
Motion to pass the resolution?
I'll second.
Commissioner Frankert,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso.
Yes.
We have a resolution authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement or contract with Great Lakes Demolition Company for the superstructure replacement pre-stressed box beams.
So move.
Signature.
Second.
Where's that at, Mark? I remember doing them, but yeah, refresh us on that.
So we're doing Bridge on Times Road 194, replacing a superstructure on County Road 38 and County Road 27, I think. I forget what that is.
I just want to point out. so
Pretty
you don't
bad.
get out of it. Yeah,
Thanks a lot, Bill.
Yeah,
Three superstructures, right there on my board too.
Hey, did they vote on, so we have a first and a second, we're in discussion. Did they pass the transportation bill have the force limits
Alright.
that
So,
they wanted?
so if you want to talk about, so,
Yeah, because
well,
that's a good thing. Go ahead, yeah.
It came out of committee and it's
Okay.
passes, and we assume the governor will sign it, that it,
So
they
the
raised
House
our force
and Senate
account
agreed.
limits significantly. Great thanks to Bill Reinecke. I mean, and being on that Senate Transportation Committee, we went down a week
Thank
ago
you, Bill.
Tuesday and talked with them about, what we would like to see for the County Engineers Association and for the county engineers to be able to do work with our own forces, and they came through. So, yeah, raised it from, for bridges, $100,000 to $233,000 for work that we can do on our own. For culverts and bridges, $40,000 to $70,000 increases to roadway, and that was for townships as well as counties, so, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, very good.
Outstanding, good, yeah. Streamline's a lot better now.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have a first and a second, any other discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Frankert,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Peregrino.
Yes, and I'd like to, before we get out of new business, maybe you can help me on this. Carlos was down yesterday. Did you get a text?
Yeah.
What was he asking? I didn't
So
read.
basically, so
He
they're
wants a
having.
letter of support or something?
Well, no, he wants money, so yeah, so basically.
Okay, well, this meeting's adjourned, yeah.
Carlos, my partner in
Carlos,
Suffolk County.
so I thought we had, you wanted to.
So he's part of
thing.
the CASA, the
dance thing?
dance thing, right?
Oh,
That's
he's
his
one of those-
fundraiser.
Yeah, I got it.
Right, for Dance with the Stars.
Oh, I
Dancing with the
I thought he was
Stars.
asking for Sandusky County
Yeah,
Literacy.
no, it's for the sport, he's wanting money for his, yeah.
Okay.
Which helps fund the victims assistance or whatever, yeah, he's part of that organization, so.
We
yeah,
saw
I
a bunch of
think-
engineers yesterday.
I
They all
told
told
my
us how
team
great
not
you
to
were.
watch him dance.
Oh,
Exactly.
All right, so Carlos, I'll get back to you later. I thought it was an engineer.
It's your personal money.
I'd almost double that to get Zimmerman and Carlos to dance there.
Yeah, well,
I'd pay to see that.
that's supposed to bring some money in.
Those, there were a number of engineers. The Franklin County engineer, he seemed pretty sharp. He talked
Cornell?
quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, Cornell's a good guy. He's
Good
very
guy. He
smart.
seemed
And
really
he's
sharp.
been working with, at the engineers department down there for a lot of years before he was the county engineer, working under Dean Ringel when he was the county engineer.
Was he part of the, your association's governmental group? maybe?
Yep.
Yeah, because
Yep.
he seemed on top of some of
Yeah.
the legislature.
Yep.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, and that he's in Columbus, so he's got everybody's ears when you're the Franklin County engineer, so you're right in your backyard. Yeah.
Jimmy, any?
Real quick, Tony,
Yeah,
one more
before
thing,
we
just
open
want to
up.
do a shout out for the Board of Elections, they're starting their trainings, so there's so time for anybody that wants to participate in working at the Board of Elections, get a hold of them, and, yeah, my wife and I are gonna go Monday night for training, so.
For training?
For training to work the primaries.
Jimmy, you been working on that?
Yeah, actually, I did some video editing for them for the training program, so
Yeah.
you'll see that work.
Good. Anything from you? Any other comment?
Good shape.
Okay, any public comment locally here, live? We turn it over to anyone online want to comment?
Yeah, I put something in the chat, but if you would like to come forward and speak during public comment, you would be able to unmute your line now and come forward.
We always do this, Reese. We open up, anybody can talk. We good?
I think so. I don't see anything in the chat and no one's
Next meeting will
unmuted.
be April
Speech here in the
6th.
county.
Next meeting will be April 6th, meeting adjourned.
That was